Hello, everyone, and welcome to the panel Aspec Love, Putting the A in Romance. My name is R.A. Shadel, and I will be your moderator for the event. I'm going to pass it to our panelists first to introduce themselves.
Thanks so much, Ari. I'm Marie Parks, and I'm a New Mexico-based fantasy author with three at this point tried published titles, all of which feature an asexual main character. So I'm excited to hang out with everybody.
Hi, everybody. My name is Harper Kinsley. My debut novel, Spikes, Dice, and Other Variables, is an ace romance that comes out on September 5th of this year. I'm really, really excited. And I am located in the Midwest. Um, I have a cat, and that is my spiel.
Hi, my name is Lara Ameen. I'm a sensitivity reader, screenwriter, short fiction writer, novelist, and I'm sorry if you could hear my dogs barking in the background. That's how we roll. Um, and I'm also a contributor to Being Ace, which is a anthology that came out in 2023, and my story features an asexual teen with cerebral palsy who has 48 hours to save her girlfriend from an anonymous enemy. It's a young adult thriller. I also write fantasy and romance novels with ace protagonists and speculative fiction, speculative fantasy, uh, fantasy horror, sci-fi type stuff, TV drama pilots, and some of those have ace characters as well. And I have two dogs who are probably currently barking, and a very chatty, chirpy bird, and I'm based in Southern California.
Hi everyone, my name is MultiMind. I write sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. My current novel is Hollywood, but also I am featured in the anthology that is coming out next year for a Black faith anthology called Wings Under the Leaves. And my works are available everywhere. That's all I really have. I don't do romance.
Thanks so much, MultiMind. So excited to have all of these wonderful panelists here. To get us started, why don't we talk about what do aromanticism and asexuality reveal about how attraction and relationships work?
I
Um,
think that it kind of shows that the two are entirely separate and that you can be attracted to someone without wanting to have sex with them. Those are two entirely different things, hence why there's the whole idea of being a dash romantic dash sexual. So somebody who is, bi romantic, meaning they're attracted to the duality of genders versus, but that means, but they are also, demisexual. So, or asexual. So it shows romance and sexuality as two different things, which it is.
Yeah, I actually brought up the split attraction model in when I was kind of writing down notes and my thoughts on this. I identify as a panromantic gray sexual individual. And I really think that the split attraction model and um, just asexuality and aromanticism in general really just go to show that like relationships and attraction are a lot more nuanced than we've been led to believe in the past. I think, yeah, like sure, a lot of relationships do have a strong romantic or sexual aspect to them. But there's a lot more than that that goes into a relationship. Things like trust and communication, which are crucial to any relationship, any kind of relationship. Um, and like through understanding that and through understanding things like the split attraction model, um, Aspec individuals can look at relationships in almost a three-dimensional, multifaceted sort of way, rather than just this like surface level view, because there's just so much more. I think we sort of have a benefit of being able to see past that first layer. And that's not to say that like an allo relationship is any weaker or less valid. I certainly know people who are in allo relationships who are very committed and very in love and have very, very strong relationships. But it certainly opens up a really unique perspective on relationships and attraction that just make them a bit more complex.
I agree with all of that with both of you, and um I think about the opportunity that all the A designations provide for everyone, regardless of their romantic orientation or their sexual orientation, that they're able to now think about like, not just sexual attraction or romantic attraction, but also like intellectual attraction or like, all these other levels to attraction that I never really was aware of until I learned about asexuality. And that opened the door to me to realize like, oh, actually, like aesthetic attraction can be important for people, but it may not actually align with their sexual orientation or like things like that, right? And so it is deep, and this is open to everyone. Like you were saying, Harper, like like hetero couples who have great depth to their relationship. Well, that's because we all can do this, but the language comes out of, as far as at least from my understanding, the language for my understanding of it, my introduction to these concepts came out of an understanding of asexuality and aromanticism. So I think these are great tools for everyone to be able to understand themselves better and to deepen their relationships of any type.
I love what you said about like, yeah, the language. I think that's a big thing that I'm a big fan of I'm probably gonna say this wrong. Cody Daigle Orion's book, I Am Ace, and I learned so much about attraction and the different forms of love from that book specifically. And so I think you really hit it the nail on the head when you said the language that we have is just so much broader.
Yeah, and shout out to Angela Chen too.
Also, for those playing at home, allo relationships are for people who are not ace. So, in case you're wondering why we're saying allo, that's because that is for people who do feel sexual attractions. Yes, there is a name for you.
Thanks so much for the primer. I think it was probably a little bit needed.
Oh, I agree with what everyone else is saying pretty much, and I think there's gonna be a lot of overlap for me with this question and with question 4 or whenever we get to it, because I feel like with ace relationships, and like I don't know that much about aromanticism because I'm not, that's not how I personally identify, but how I view like ace relationships and like in fiction and in life, like it's about just being with the person and having a connection with the person that doesn't necessarily have to be sexual. Like I feel like a lot when you like read romance novels, like there's an expectation, yeah, okay, the characters are gonna get together, but like there's this big explosive like romance, like sex scene or whatever. And I think that that's valid in some cases, whether your characters are ace or not. But I feel like for ace characters and maybe arrow characters, I don't know, like that doesn't have to be in there, and it's not necessarily like a demisexual thing either, because I'm more biromantic ace. But like I feel like it's more based on different types of attraction. Like I think Marie was saying about like intellectual attraction and aesthetic attraction and like other parts of personality and of different things that we see as, we don't necessarily see it as like a romantic trait, but like that can still be quote unquote sexy to an ace and arrow person. It's just like they want to spend time with the person because they're attracted to them intellectually or aesthetically, or have different ways of like communication styles. And I don't think it's necessarily always about like touching and this like physical act. I think a lot of it is like emotional and communication and connection and that kind of stuff. And I mean, friendships are built off of that, and you know, other kinds of relationships are built off of that. So I think it's within our, you know, our DNA sort of that we have these things. But I also think that when you're ace or maybe allo, I'm not sure, um, you just experience those things differently than other people, and maybe other people don't want to put a label on it, or they see attraction as like a very specific way. But I don't think, I don't know, I'm just of like the unpopular opinion that like it's about more than just like sex and like this very like dramatic like thing. Like I think it's more about just the connection and being with the person, even like online, and body doubling and stuff, like just showing up someone that you care about them, and like in ways that's like, oh, I thought of you, or oh, I, you know, got this for you, or I thought of you to do this. Like that can be like, I think that can be part of ace and arrow relationships too.
For our next question, what can any writer take from that, what we just discussed, and whether those characters are ace, arrow, or allo, what can they really take from what we just learned about how attraction and relationships work?
For one, I believe it helps them decenter heteronormality, which honestly is done everywhere and stuff. Not all relationships are hetero, not all relationships work in the exact same way. And actually, I think would make it that they can make better stories in opposed to just the stereotypical what's been done before by some dead white guy, and also understanding the difference between asexuality, being ace or aromantic, and, such as being aro for short, and or if they are allo characters, it helps decenter it away from aloness because not everybody works the same way, but also to not make the aromantic characters or the asexual characters the quote unquote bad characters, because there's nothing wrong with them, more than there is something wrong with a queer character of any shade and stuff. It helps to just simply decenter it and help the writer essentially tell a way better story and not just simply regurgitated mess that would sound like a fighting argument for AI.
One of the writer's greatest tools is the like dial of tension. And often, like romance or chemistry between like sexual chemistry between characters is like a lever for that tension. And that's like a big part of what the story is writing on. But this opens the door to so many more types of interpersonal tension between characters. So if that's like a tool that a writer can use in the story, it doesn't have to be like MultiMind was saying, so like been there, done that. And it just really makes the characters feel more real, while also making your story more exciting and making readers want to turn the pages.
Yes, I'm gonna jump in because I was so excited about this question after I was thinking about it for a while. Um, Non-sexual intimacy. I am just, I'm feral about non-sexual intimacy. And I think writers of all kinds underestimate the value of non-sexual intimacy. Because yes, that can be things like that are physical, like cuddling or holding hands, or one of my personal favorites, forehead touches. But intimacy is also about mutual trust and vulnerability and open communication and other like non-traditional examples. I think of um, dressing wounds and healing someone else. I think that's a fabulous example. Sharing things about yourself that you've never shared with anybody else, especially if they're like small secrets, like I'm 16 years old and I still sleep with a comfort stuffed animal because I need it. Like that's such a vulnerable thing to share with somebody else, and just willing to put yourself in a really vulnerable position with someone else. I think that just is such a strong form of intimacy. Dancing, noticing little things about the other person and then acting on them, like characters like if the one character brings a chocolate bar to the other character that's like a specific chocolate bar, and they're like, oh, I can't have chocolate. And they're like, no, it's a dairy-free one. I know that you're dairy-free. And they're like, wait, when did you even pick up on that? And they're like, oh, you get almond milk every day at the coffee. I've noticed you always get almond milk at the coffee shop. Like that to me, oh, my characters text good night to each other. And for them, that's a form of non-sexual intimacy because I find that myself, I don't text my friends good night. At the end of the day, I think a lot of us just kind of leave conversations hanging at the end of the day. But there's just such a special feeling when like I do text a friend good night. So that was a way that I wanted to kind of show that with my characters. Um, and it's a very strong way for aro-ace relationships to show romantic partnerships. But in an allo romance, I think as we've been saying, it only goes to strengthen that romance and just make it hit even harder. And yeah, I just think it's so very underestimated, very underused, and I think that's something everybody should be taking advantage of.
I really like what Harper had to say. So many good things. And I also feel called out because I'm almost 40 and I still sleep with my stuffed animals. I love stuffed animals. Stuffed animals are amazing. Stuffed
That's
animal
okay, me
supremacy.
too.
Yeah, stuffed animal supremacy. Um, but I think that, like, you bring up a lot of good points in that, like, when I'm working on my first romance manuscript, and both of my main character and my the love interest are ace, and they're both disabled with different disabilities and multiple disabilities, and the love interest gets the main character. Like, I love wolves. Wolves are my favorite animals, so she gets her like a wolf, a stuffed animal, and I was like, oh, I thought of you, like this made me think of you, and all this stuff. And she also gets her like part of their fandom is based around these like bracelets that are made out of time, because the fake show is called Time Loop. So the bracelets are made out of time, like the plant, and she actually gets the love interest gets her cousin to make them time, like, yeah, bracelet for them, like for each of them. And then if I get an agent or a book deal with this book, I messaged a friend of mine and I said, and she's also ace, and I said to her, if my book gets an agent, because I'm getting ready to query it, I want you to make me a bracelet that says the title of the book on it, because she made me bracelets for like you could see them now, my favorite shows, and one of these shows is what inspired my novel, Time Loop, which is THYME, by the way. But I think, like, I have a lot of those moments of, like, in my own novel, and what I would like to see, which we talk about later in in another question of, like, I want to see the non-sexual intimacy, because I think that's why I'm a fan of the hurt comfort trope, right? Because it doesn't have to be super sexual. It could just be like, oh, I'm here for you, and you're hugging, or you have your arm around someone, or just being in the same proximity of them, and like doing, body doubling like they do, for ADHD, like just being in the same space with someone, or showing that you're there for them, or very subtly, like, hand holding, or like small touches and stuff, like just anything that's like not super sexual but says I'm thinking of you, or I'm there for you, even in online communications. I think that's why so many of us, like, especially like for millennials, like grew up with like online friends and online, that kind of stuff, because there is an intimacy that gets it kind of gets overcrowded by, like, oh, you have to have like other kinds of relationships, but like these kinds of things are way more subtle, and people just think, oh, I would do that anyway. But I feel like for people who are ace, or maybe even allo, I don't know, I feel like doing these more subtle things are ways to show, oh, I'm thinking of you. Like, it means so much more because it's so personal to our to our interests and to our, because so many of us are disabled, neurodivergent, ADHD, and these kinds of things. So like the simplicity of it, of the I'm thinking of you, like it means so much more. And I think showing that in moments with these different types of characters when you're writing that kind of romance is really important.
What are some good examples of ace or aro romance in fiction?
For me, I really like Daybreak, and also there is a different one called More and Something. It'll take me a minute. I will get there. But they are both show how ace and aro relationships work without demonizing people. And plus they are of people of color. I honestly kind of hate the fact that a lot of media that shows queerness is really white focused. Like, ooh, it is very log cabin Republican. But definitely these folks actually show how ace relationships work, how aromantic relationships work, and decenter from allo sexual relationships. And I really, really like those. But while they answer, I'll look those up because they are great and they are made by amazing creators, especially if both of them are creators of color.
So just a couple titles I was thinking of. I love everything by Amanda DeWitt, but Ren Martin Ruins It All specifically. I just thought the romance was really soft and really nice and just it's very much that kind of like to be known that Lara was talking about. So I really like that one. Ace of Hearts by Lucy Mason is a really great example of how trust and communication are super pivotal to relationships. Um, I really loved Forward March by Sky Quinlan, Summerbird Blue by Donna Kemi Bowman. The upcoming sequel to Child of the Dragon by Ashley M. Sheasley has a fabulous non-sexual intimacy scene that I have had the pleasure to beta read, and I think it's absolutely what I'm talking about when I talk about non-sexual intimacy. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's definitely very well done. And I mean, I would like to throw myself out there just a little bit since I did write an ace sports romance. I do think that I put a lot of thought into how to write an ace character um, in a romance setting because I think there's a lot of um, there's a lot of characters that find out that they're ace, but I think there's sometimes it's missing, especially in the YA genre. There's that sort of like grappling with ace and what it means to be in a relationship, and so that's kind of what my book is about. So I do think that that's a great example too.
Found it. It's Dom and More. DOM and MOR. That's the Ace comic that I read, and it's really, really good. And I really, really like how it shows a Ace and Aro relationships without centering allo relationships and going, wait, these people are broken. They're not. They're just having a normal relationship. There it is.
Gonna be biased and mention being Ace and the anthology and also being Arrow, which just came out. That anthology just came out by a bunch of different aromantic authors. I wasn't involved with that one, but I know that it just did come out because I just got my ebook pre-order came in, so I'm excited to read it. And I think all the stories in both anthologies, even though they're not all romance, they do a good job of like showing Ace and Arrow characters in different situations, and some of them have romance and some of them don't, but it's an example of like how different characters experience attraction, or if an expectation is put upon a character like to get married or something and they don't want to, how do they work around that um, while still living their best lives. I would also say I had to like look this up because I haven't I just started reading more romances, and a lot of them don't have ace characters. So I had to look this up, and I do want to read this. But the book's by Claire Kahn, I believe. She has ace characters. I think her story is called the Romantic Agenda. I think that's what it's called. With an ace character, like with a black ace character. Um, and yeah, and I believe I think Marie Nejkamp, who's disabled, is also ace. I'm not sure, but I think they might be ace and disabled. I'm not sure on that though, but I know that they're queer. I'm trying to think of like other ones because, like I said, most of the romances that I've been reading don't have ace characters, and some of the ones that I did think of to possibly mention, I think have already been mentioned. But I think if I think of any more, I will say them before the end. But I would definitely say being ace and being arrow has a lot of variety. And then if I ever get my novels published, I would love to, have see that in more in fiction. But yeah, and I guess that leads into the next question. But I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, so kind of like multi-mind, I think you were saying you don't really write romance. I don't either. I write thrillers and the
Yeah,
heists.
I don't do the romance
Yeah.
thing and stuff. But also, a side note, there's also Demi and Ace, which is a web series. But yeah, I prefer dead people than loving people. So hey.
I love it. Yeah. So at a point, or I can attest that I was like, should I be on this panel? I don't know.
Same.
But I do think about relationships a lot with characters, and I think a lot of that, I mean, that's in every type of story. So the things that occur to me, one is something Harper said a second ago, which is there's this like theme or motif of like the finding oneself, the coming of age, the coming out, the challenges of coming out in a heteronormative normative world, which of course is absolutely a thing. Um, and the thing that gets me is like when that's always just like teenagers, because I was 35 when that happened to me. So I do love it when stories center like if that's the story, that it isn't necessarily always when you're a teenager, because that I don't even know if these words were like in the parlance at that point when I was a teen. Maybe I'm just ancient. But the other thing I love is my one of my favorites is actually not a book. It's a video game. So the video game Outer Worlds, if anyone's played that, it's super fun. It's kind of like if Fallout and Firefly had a baby. But there's a character on your crew named Parvati, and at one point she comes out to you as Ace, and she's looking to have a romance with another woman, and like once she's like looking for a safe place to talk about this and like how to prepare, because also you're the captain of the ship, and so if you want them to be able to date, you have to take her physically to the space station for that to be able to for them to have that conversation in person. But the really cool thing about it is when Parvati comes out to you, you have different responses that you can give, and one of the responses you can give is me too. And I just got full body chills again. Like every time I think about that moment, because it's so empowering and beautiful, and yeah, it's a cute, adorable romance that they have, but like also the fact that you can claim that for yourself as the player. I was just like, this is the normativity of asexuality that media needs. So I will always have such a soft spot for that game.
I've heard of that game and I've like wanted to because I knew that it had a ace rep in it, and you just told me that I need to like actually get to playing that. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
there's
know some
also
people.
another one that is a visual novel, Arrow. I forget what it is, but it's also a pretty good one. That's a game. But yeah, because those are the ones that are not books. Demi and Ace, the web series, which I think has ended, so you can watch it in full, and the Arrow spec web not web series visual novel video game, which I think was pretty okay. And also because that, like, honestly, when I see about like Ace folks when it's like coming out, because I genuinely don't remember. Like, I was told, like, oh, maybe you're Ace when I was like 19, but I have a stronger memory of knowing that I liked mushrooms on pizza than I do about figuring out that I was demisexual or Ace. Like, I have a much stronger memory of going, wow, I really like mushrooms on pizza. I thought it'd be nasty, but it's actually not, than I do about that.
I feel like the pizza like food comparison is like quite possibly the most A-spec comparison that you like could have made. Like that's just it's the garlic bread thing, right? Like, no thanks, I'd rather have garlic bread.
Yeah, because yeah, I
Yeah.
remember people was like, "Well, when you came out of the closet," I'm like, "What closet?" I was going, "What closet, bro?" I wasn't one. I just was like, "Oh, cool, that's me, sweet," and that's pretty much it. I had a strong memory going, "Wow, I thought that this having this type of stuff on pizza would be disgusting. I usually like pepper." Like it was kind of, it's just that's how it was for me, honestly.
I
I
have one
think
more example that I thought of, and it's not, and thank you for bringing up other types of media because that's what made me think of it. It's a TV show, and I wish I remembered this earlier because screenwriter. It's the TV show is called Everything's Gonna Be Okay, and it was on Freeform, and it was like the first TV series that I saw with two asexual characters who are both disabled. They're both autistic, and one of them also has a service dog, and shows her having meltdowns and how her service dog calms her down. And it's the actress's actual service dog. Like both actors are played by autistic actresses, Kayla Cromer and oh my god, I can't remember the other actress's name, but the other girl's service dog, like that's her actual service dog in real life. And it was the first time I had seen characters on TV like say that they're ace, like explicitly say it and also be disabled. And that was even before I realized that I'm autistic myself, but it was just a really powerful representation, and the way they talked about that representation and their relationship and everything was really, really cool. And I love it. I still love it. It's great.
actually bringing up the other forms of media made me think of, I'm sorry, one more. I feel like we're just like adding all the
No, it's
things, which is
fine.
great.
I have one
It's
more to add too.
great. I'm like writing down. I've got a little thing. I'm writing down all the recommendations, a little post-it note for myself. So, um, I kind of Lara, like I had a similar situation when I watched BoJack Horseman, um, because one of the characters, Todd, is asexual, and just kind of his journey kind of resonated with me. And I really like the way that they very much normalize his asexuality, and the way that he has his his ace journey and his realization journey. But what I think I really appreciate about it is they they don't hesitate to throw him in sort of comical situations that aren't offensively done, if that makes sense. Like it's not an uncomfortable thing. Like it's not a offensive. It's not offensively done. Like there's one situation where like he ends up dating another a girl who's she's an axolotl actually. Um because that's just BoJack logic. I promise it's normal. It's not weird. But they end up dating, and it's a very comical situation where um her family is very like they're very sex positive, and they're very like sexually inclined or whatever, and they have to like navigate being at her parents' house while her parents are talking about all these, sex things and stuff, and they're just very much trying to pretend that they know what they're talking about. And as an ace person, I found it very funny because it's that like, oh yeah, I know what you kids mean when you say that. Yep. And just trying to that struggle of trying to fit into an allo space, but done in such a um just a comical way that again makes sense and didn't feel like it was at anybody's detriment or like making fun of anybody. It just felt very natural.
And the one I wanted to bring up was Let's Talk About Love, which is a book by Claire Kahn. I've read bits of it. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but it might be great for somebody else. It is a Black ace person, but for me, it's just, yeah, I have those experiences. And I've learned to just sit here and say, bro, I'm too like ace for this conversation, or I'm too demi for this conversation. I mean, I'm also a non-binary person, so I'll also sit here and be like, I'm too non-binary for this conversation, bro. Please, please, just please stop.
All right, last question for our panel. What do you wish you would see more in aspec romance in fiction?
I don't read tons of romance, so I'm gonna just rewrite the questions. Just to say, like, I do want to double down on that idea of like a coming out story doesn't have to just be about like literal children or people in their 20s. And I want to see more and more from any writer who can do so with respect. I want to see just, I think Charlie Jane Anders calls it ambient queerness, right? Where it's just like this is just part of the fabric of this story and this world and these characters, and their sexual orientation or their romantic orientation is just another quality about them, like the color of their hair or whatever, right? Or like the fact that they're a lawyer or like whatever. So I think just normalization is super important for everyone to be able to see themselves, and also I think even more importantly be able to see a bigger variety of people as the hero of the story, right? Because as MultiMind was saying, like the white dudes have had their day. Right. I say this also having a novel that does have a white dude main character is, but that's there there's so much opportunity out there for us to just create normalcy, and to create acceptance, and that trickles into the world, because at the end of the day I think the thing that's so powerful about speculative fiction is it's such a playground for us to explore all sorts of ideas, and it is a catalyst for change in the real world.
And I also, to piggyback off of that, because I don't, again, I'm not a romance writer, but I do know how people work. But definitely, yeah, it doesn't have to be that I tend to call it comfortably queer, the same way I call like having characters that are comfortably Black or comfortably whatever hyper historically marginalization that they are there, because that's how it is in real life and stuff. Not everybody's going sitting here like, I am a bi person, I suffer. No, they literally don't. Usually, sorry. I know queer folks told you a lie, guys. Most queer people don't do this crap. But definitely because it's like it's just part of who they are as a person. And also it's like it's not about coming out. They still have a normal life. They still gotta pay taxes. They still gotta feed their pets. They still have a normal life, and that's how it should be depicted, as a regular life, because it says a lot more about the writer when they're kind of like, oh my God, that person's ace and stuff, or any other historical marginalization than you would think. And then you basically wind up with, Brandon Sanderson's, J.K. Rowling's, or Neil Gaiman. Also, you don't have three like white folks who basically just write the same stuff that was written for the past 300 years.
So I would love to see more attention to the split attraction model. I would love to see like intentional solid rep of, a biromantic lesbian or an aromantic pansexual or anything like that. I'd love to see examples of what sex favorable versus sex neutral look like, things like that. What is sex averse? And those are all very, again, kind of the back to that language that I wouldn't have known unless I had read that one specific book. So it would be so nice to see those terms in fiction. I would love to see more aspec identities besides, asexual, aromantic, aroace, and the demi-romantic, demisexual, and demi-aroace. I feel like there's a lot of that, and I would love to see more ace flux individuals, gray specs, ago, I think it's agosexual or ago. Um, I would love to see an even broader a broader variety of aspec characters. Um, I think that good representation serves as good education. And so I think that that's something that, I mean, it unfortunately should not fall on aspec writers to educate other people, but I do think we have this really unique position where we can give a broader education to other people through the things that we write. I would also really like to see just more aspec spins on popular romance tropes too. Kind of again like the hurt comfort. I think that's such a beautiful trope that can be spun so well for an aspec relationship. Give me a platonic who hurt you like any day. Like I'm feral for that stuff. So I just would love to see give me like friendship meet cutes, right? I love Dear Wendy by Anne Zhao because it's a friendship romance. That's I know that's what Anne Zhao has been kind of marketing slash calling it, and I think that that's just that for me was absolutely perfect because it's you've got mail but a friendship romance and like sold, absolutely sold. It's so good, and so when those beats get hit, it makes my heart happy. So I'd love to see more of that.
I am so prepared for this question. This is the question that I was like, yes, I know how to answer. I would love to see more disability rep in aspec fiction, and by disability rep, I don't just mean like the umbrella of neurodivergence. I mean like every kind of disability rep. I'm a wheelchair user, and I feel like one of the main, I want to say, issues with when talking about disability and romance is that disabled people, especially if you're physically disabled, and I'm physically disabled and I have invisible disabilities, but when you're physically disabled, I have cerebral palsy specifically, which is technically a type of neurodivergence, I learned. When you're physically disabled and you use a wheelchair or you use mobility aids, disability is seen as like when you're disabled and someone like might get into a relationship or have sex, they're seen as asexual automatically in like a negative way because they're like, oh, disabled people aren't capable of having sex or having a fulfilling romantic relationship or whatever that is. So the novel that I'm working on, and I wasn't even expected to write like a romance. Like I'm also like I write fantasy and stuff like this wasn't my thing at all, but with like the novel that I'm working on and writing and want to query, like I talk about, there's an aspect of it that I talk about how disability is seen as, like a negative, sort of like a negative aspect of like asexuality. Like if you're disabled, oh, you must be asexual, and that means you're not capable of having any relationship or any kind of anything, where asexuality actually becomes like this negative stereotype, and it's not that at all. It's it's an authentic experience for many people, disabled or not. And so I feel like having more disabled ace authors write about those kinds of experiences would be beneficial, and I also would love to see like more disabled authors who have multiple disabilities who are ace or arrow write about their experiences, because I feel like people, if they'll see me in person, they'll just see somebody in a wheelchair, and it's like there's more to me than that, and I even have like more disabilities than like what you're physically seeing. So I feel like asexuality can hinder that like in a negative way, and I want to see more positive disability and asexual representation, but not like in an inspiration porn kind of way. Like, oh, that disabled ace person is so inspiring because they're in a relationship or because they're doing the thing that they're doing. Like, no, they just exist because people exist. So I want to see more multiply marginalized, disabled and asexual characters, and that goes for characters of color. My main character is also a character of color because I'm part Egyptian, and like that doesn't exist anywhere. So I want to see like more nuances of that and more conversations about that, and it's something that I really, have thought about, and even it was interesting, though. I'll go off on a quick tangent. That when I was writing my PhD dissertation, it's a script that I adapted into a novel, and it's fantasy. When I was writing like more of the novel parts, the two main characters are friends, but people were like, "Oh, they should." Like I had some people say, "Oh, they should be together," like because they're both ace characters, and they're like, "Oh, they should be together." And for that particular novel, I didn't really feel like they should be together. I was like, no, like this doesn't work for those particular characters. It would work for other characters, but not for them. So I also feel like for certain ace characters, whether they're disabled or not, romance doesn't always, it's not always a necessity, but like it could be. And friendship is just as important as romance, like Marie and Harper were saying as well. So that's what I believe.
I know we are about to close our panel. Panelists, do you have any last thoughts, farewells, maybe a call to action, or if you'd like to promote your book or project or direct people to a specific website?
I definitely would recommend, like I said earlier, I am Aspec, Codidigal Orions. If you want to learn more about asexuality, about attraction, it's a fabulous book. And just educate yourself, right? I think the best thing that you can do to be an ally to Aspec folks is to read more ACE literature, to learn more about it. There are so many great books. There's so many great books. And my book included, which again, it is a ace romance. That is what I do. I am a contemporary romance writer, and so I am really thrilled just to see this book. It's over here. Coming out, like I said, in September, September 15th. And if you would like to follow me for updates, I am on Instagram as Harper Kinsley author. I am also on Blue Sky. My book is coming out through Inked and Press, so that's also where you can find information about the book. Pre-orders are available as of right now, but that's kind of all I have to say. But thank you for having me, and it's been fabulous to talk to all of you.
Oh, okay. My name is MultiMind, and my books can be available in audio, print, and ebook anywhere that books are sold or rented online or offline. I also can be found at multimindpublishing.com, and also I'm on Instagram and Threads as MultiMind Publishing. So and also, I guess my last thoughts are pretty much, to learn about ace people, read stuff made by ace people. We do make things. Even not all my works have ace folks because that's how the world is. But they definitely are there because that's also how the world is. And also look at any good resources and stuff. Like Black Ace Culture is an amazing resource about just aceness in general, especially since unfortunately AVEN has been not doing so great. But definitely is you want to make sure that your work is diverse and flourishes as the world. So it's not just also the whiteness as queer trope, because that's ridiculous. Billy Porter clearly exists. So yeah, definitely just read diversely and actual diversely.
Hi, I really enjoyed being on this panel, so thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And I feel better that like half of us like romance like isn't our main thing because I come from fantasy, so I feel so much better. My call to action would be a little bit unpopular, maybe, but since there are a majority queer audience watching this, please wear a mask. And when you go out, and a KN95 or N95, because COVID is still decimating queer and disabled and marginalized communities, and it's really important that we take care of each other and look out for each other. And clean air is important. So please, when you go to book events or when you go out in the world, please wear a mask and show solidarity with, all kinds of people. You can find me at True Cherry Girl. That's TRU Cherry Girl on Blue Sky, Instagram, X, pretty much everywhere. Discord also, so I'll be on the Discord. And then Being Ace, which was I have a short story in, is available on all platforms. So Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Bookshop, anywhere. And it was also a 2024 Lambda Literary Award winner. So we have a little bit of stuff there. It's really fun. And also, I teach classes with women on writing. I don't know if the class that I'm supposed to be teaching will be it'll be available at that point, but I teach a writing fantasy fiction class, and I teach writing disabled characters in fiction. I believe the writing disabled characters in fiction class will be taught again next year, and writing fantasy fiction, if it's not going to be taught in June, and I know this recording goes up later, it might be taught later on in the fall. So I teach those classes, and then if you look up my name and sensitivity reading with women on writing, I have a sensitivity reading page where I'm available to read for ace characters, disabled characters, Egyptian characters, Jewish characters, like any kind of thing that you see on that page I can read for, so I'm available for sensitivity reading services. And yeah, you could find me at True Cherry Girl, and please wear a mask and support disabled queer authors. I agree with MultiMind to read diversely, even if they're not ace characters, but if they're, characters of color or disabled characters or multiply marginalized characters, it's important that we all read diversely. I think there's more diversity in books now than there is in television, sadly, which makes me a sad screenwriter, but you keep writing anyway. But yeah, I think that's about it.
You can find all of my stuff at marieparks.com. This book here, Undeniable, is book 2 in the Grigori cycle. Book 1 won the LGBTQ Book Awards from New Mexico Book Awards, and is co-authored with Jess Honard, who I need to give a shout out to, my wonderful co-author. And then my most recent book, Flightless, is a fantasy novel. It's a heist. It's Eat the Rich vibes. It's very fun. So check that out. And if you happen to be in Columbus, Ohio, the very weekend that this is happening, I will be there. So come find me at the Columbus Book Festival. But yeah, if you just get on my email list, I like to shout out what I'm reading. So lots more ACE recommendation, ACE reading recommendations, and arrow reading recommendations there. And then as far as that goes, another really nice primer. I'm maybe a little biased towards it because it was one of the first nonfiction books I read on asexuality, but Angela Chen's ACE is great because it talks a lot about intersectionality with disability, with race, with gender, etc. And so, I mean, I honestly feel like if you're looking for a place to start, just understanding asexuality and the intersections of it, that's a really great place to sort of dive in. And then, yeah, just a huge thanks to you, RA, and to WriteHive for hosting us and doing your part to make sure that we have, more representation in the world of writing. So thanks so much.
And thank you everyone for sticking with us and watching Aspec Love putting the A in romance. We will see you in the Discord channel after this panel has ended. Thank you so much, everyone, and good night.